let's talk through a little bit of the selections and why I think where it would be. Rune is just used in so many massive rune words. It's the most desired rune in the game. Obviously, Enigma, Infinity, Chains of Honor. It's used all over the place. Rune, just as well. In the Enigma as well. In your Faith. In so many really big, all over the place in Last Wish. Just these two runes are used more than like any other high rune in the game, and they are disgusting. Presentation mode? Is there a presentation mode? It just makes it black, which is fine. Little nicer on the eyes. Lumroon has Deadly Strike, so it's used a lot there. Also, Grief, Fortitude, a couple other rune words, but really like some big rune words is kind of the piece that's very, very strong with it right there. Why it goes S tier. And then Ist runes on top of being used in some nice rune words like CTA, CTA and such. It's also just amazing. Low's not CTA, Oma CTA. It's also just amazing for all of the magic find that you are constantly going to be putting into all sorts of gear, right? So everybody just needs more Ist runes to shove into more of their things. In the A tier, I've got the Rune. Just like the Ist rune, it's used in so many places for more resistances, but it's not quite as prevalent. So I pushed it to the A tier there. Saroon only exists purely here because it's half of a rune. Otherwise, it's like a D tier rune. It's just complete garbage. Nobody cares about it. But it's half of a rune, and that is worth a lot. A Vex rune is great for, obviously, your Hodo, right? So that's kind of one of those classics. And then your Ohm rune with your CTA. Those are kind of the two main rune words. They're used in some others as well, but those are very, very, very good high runes to have and find. I put a Hell rune up here, and I know it's a little bit silly, maybe, and we could maybe move it like to the back of the A tier. But Hell rune is used so often for like re-rolling spirits, re-rolling all sorts of rune words that you want to make into a better rune word because you got a bad roll on it. And it's just a Hell rune for it. And to me, I was like, it's actually worth a lot. Like we wouldn't have being able to keep an amazing base and try again is super, super nice. So it goes somewhere up in the A range for me. I like it right there. Amrune's very solid because you get the lifesteal. And then you also get the use for just a variety of things for crafting and for other things. So it's also a rune in spirit. Amrunes are highly sought after, but great for shoving in like a bone hew or something if you need to get a little life leech on your merce. Shale runes, you get the IAS, right? You've heard of the 6 shaled PBs before and things like that. So very useful for that. And also has some use in like, a rhyme and in a piece and in I think it's in treachery as well, right? Like it's actually in a lot of rune words that are some of those solid middle game rune words. Soul rune you can use for like a lore helm, which is one of my favorites. You also get FHR for that. You aren't really using a soul rune overall a ton. I would almost say you could drop soul a little bit, but I think it's also got some crafting purposes that people like to use. So, and you could. It's also in like insight. It's also in honor. It's also in obedience. I think, right? Let me check that real fast. No. That's foul. Sorry, not obedience. But it's in a variety of rune words as well. They're very good. Yeah, crafting for blood rings. That's right. And then Rao Runes obviously are massive there because you're using them for crafting. They can be used for repairing gear as well. That's kind of a big plus for a Rao Rune. If your like Enigma is breaking and it's in a super superior base and it's like 500,000 gold to repair it, you can just use a Rao Rune instead and repair. But you use this for amulet crafting. It's one of the runes in Spirit as well. No, it's not. It's Talthol Ortam. But it's used in Ancient's Pledge. It's used in Leaf. It's used in so many things. Ral is very high use for a very low rune. So definitely good. Moving down, we have Malrune. Insight. That's the one. Sorry. I meant Insight, not Spirit. Malrune is half of an Ist rune, which really gives it most of its value here. It's also used in CTA. That's kind of the main two uses that you're going to find with a Malrune. There's also like Coco Mal and stuff for Sanctuary. So it has some of the uses elsewhere, but not nearly like high enough. Put it in B tier. And Infinity, yes. So it's got some strong use cases, but not enough overall. I put Zod over here. Yes, Zod is only in one rune word, and that is Breath of the Dying. So you could argue it needs to be moved down a little bit, but it does open up a lot of builds with the Indestructible. So being able to have awesome ethereal weapons or items, whatever, and put a Zod in it and make it, an EDC with a Zod, whatever, make it really solid is worth it. My perfect upped Eth Rib Cracker is worthless if Zod rune doesn't exist. So that's why we have Zod. Lumroon is used for upping and also for gold find. You get a lot of use out of Lumroons, so lots of people like that. Lemco tier, that's right, baby. Speaking of which, there's the Ko rune right next to it. I put it one over, but yeah. You got your Lemco tier, get your wealth. So Ko rune as well, kind of similar idea, used for upping as well. Lemco P Diamond, is that right? Yeah. Lemco P Diamond is the upgrade. Classic upgrade. Chamrune cannot be frozen, which is why I have it here. It's very often put into like a Shaco or whatever it is. If a character doesn't have cannot be frozen somewhere else, getting it through the Chamrune is really, really helpful. So for that reason, it's a very strong but niche spot. I think it's also in like 3 rune words, but not often seen there. Sir is only higher than Cham because it is half a burr. Plain and simple. Tau rune actually has a few different uses. It's great for early game poison damage. Obviously, it's in stealth as well. And, it's got a couple Talthor or Am, so it's in the Spirit. It's another one that's kind of used often, just for a lot of small little things. Tirune, you get the mana per kill. It's useful for Leaf. It's in Insight. It's really a nice, very early rune. This is my favorite of the earliest runes in the game right there. You get a lot of use out of Tyr. Even if you're just playing through the game and you just want to shove 2 Tyr runes in a helmet or something just to get some mana per kill. Ort rune, you get some light res on it, which is really nice and helpful. You can use it to repair charges on weapons. And then also in Spirit, yada yada, and same with Thul, same idea. You get the cold res from it. It's used in Spirit, some nice stuff. So also used in Lore, Ort rune. Yeah, so these are great. Pol rune I put down here because it's half of an It's used in like stone, I guess. I don't know. It just doesn't do enough to wow me. It's often traded around. Hodo is like the only rune word that it has, which is why I have it here, and it could maybe go like up here. Maybe. Pol is used for upping something, I think. It probably deserves to be in the B, at the very end of the B tier. Sleeping on Pol rune, that's fine. Dolroon is half of a Vex rune. Moving on. Falrune is used for some sort of crafting upping. What do you use Foul with? It's in Chaos, Famine, Gloom, Kingslayer, Lionheart, and Obedience. So, okay rune words. Not often made. It's like good rune words, but they're not used. So, it just stays there. Lumroon, kind of a similar idea, where it just doesn't quite have enough use. I mean, yeah, it's going to be like a beast. But, okay. Smoke, it's okay. It's good for smoke as well. It has some of the uses, right? Smoke, Lionheart, Stone. But, like, how often are you making those rune words? Not very often at all. For the rarity of the runes, I just don't feel like Foul and Lum really are worth it. Ethereum I have down here as well in the C tier. Mainly for its use in stealth, rhyme, because they're just useful really early. Couple other things, but again, not quite as much use there. Nephrune I have here purely, yeah, you have like Nephlum for smoke or something, but it's pretty much here for crafting gloves. That's pretty much it. And Io Rune is pretty much here for a white wand. If those two things didn't exist, these would be in D tier. Nef tier for Nadir as well. Sure, you've got Nadir, which is kind of garbage, but you get Cloak Shadows. And then in the bottom tier, we have Ithroon, which just, you've got Enigma and, some of the like early game rune words. Ithel, Eth, Malice. I don't know. It's just the value of it. It doesn't really do enough to me, Rune is used in a couple rune words. It's also the most common rune, or basic rune, the first rune, and it's just kind of a boring rune overall. Yeah, it's used in Botted and Fort, I know, so like it has its value there, but I don't know. When's the last time you picked up an Rune and like kept it? You always just drop it back on the ground. Dolroon, I don't even know what like Dolroon is supposed to be. Besides, like a couple. It's used in Fortitude and it's used in Chains of Honor. And I guess Exile too. But even then, I never keep a Dolroon. It's one of those runes where it's like I keep some of these other runes. But I like never keep Dolroon. I just throw it on the ground. And then when I need it, I'm like, oh, I'll go get it. Like I'll keep Towels and Tears. I'll keep one of them lying around or something. I don't keep a Dolroon around. And then Eldrune is just there should be, honestly, add a row below. And how do I change this? F tier. And Eldrune just goes on F tier. It's just the worst. It's used in Botted or whatever. Great for Medusa Shield block chance. Okay. Eld Storm Shield. Such a unique case. 3 L's don't make a right. Exactly. So, yeah, that goes down in the base tier right there. R.I.P. Eldraune. R.I.P. So that's our runes. That's our rune tier list.